Hi there, welcome to the second 10-minute moan of today, and the topic of this 10-minute moan is unfortunately yet another knife machete attack on the streets of the United Kingdom, but this time a lot closer to home for me. Now the bizarre thing about this story, which is incredible, the most bizarre thing isn't that there's been a machete attack in the streets of the United Kingdom. The strange thing about this is this happened within 5 miles of where I live a week ago, and I wasn't aware of it. And the other thing that's bizarre is how the story has developed since then, with some strange things that have not happened. So I'll read out the first story, first part of it, which was dated the 11th of August. I only found out about this last night. And it says, two men, sorry, I'm reading from the Glasgow Evening Times. This story was only covered in the Evening Times, Scottish Television, and Daily Record. So very local, no national at all, right? Because it really is insignificant in comparison to the rest of the UK, which in itself is quite bizarre. However, headline, two men hospitalised after machete attack in East Kilbride by Esther Tarnay, who is a community reporter, not a national reporter, not a crime reporter, quite a small regional story reporter, right? 999 crews were called to Whinfell Gardens in South Lanarkshire town just after 1 a.m. on Wednesday, July 31st. She's reporting on it on the 11th of August. This is getting more bizarre. Sorry, I'd missed that, actually. Following the assault of two men aged 34 and 37 who were taken to hospital. An investigation is ongoing and it is understood that a machete was involved in the incident. A police spokesperson said around 1:05 a.m. on Wednesday, July 31st, we were called to a report of an assault at premises on Whinfell Gardens, East Kilbride. Emergency services attended and two men, 34 and 37 aged, were taken to Wishaw General Hospital for treatment. Inquiries ongoing. That is out of the Evening Times. Okay, now if you just bear with me a second. East Kilbride machete. Right. So quite a small report on it. The Daily Record, they went machete attack horror as man's hand severed in East Kilbride bloodbath. Police are hunting a knife maniac after attack unfolded in a quiet residential street in the Lanarkshire town. Same details, Wednesday, July 31st, reporting on it on the 11th of August. That is bizarre, I actually missed that. Armed officers swarmed the quiet estate in Whinfell Gardens after two men were found at 11 p.m. A resident who spoke anonymously told how one blood-soaked victim was desperately holding onto his hand, which had been severed. They told the Record it was a horror attack. I heard the blood-curdling scream and someone shouted for help. I then saw two young men injured and appearing to be hiding whilst calling out for the police. One man was holding his arm and was soaked in blood. His hand was barely attached. 5 police cars and armed officers turned up. The resident told how hero neighbours desperately tried to give first aid while waiting for emergency services. They added the street was filled with neighbours who ran out to help. Some people were phoning for police and ambulances. Others were giving first aid. There was blood everywhere. One of the men said they had been attacked with a machete. The two men were taken away in an ambulance and the street was cordoned off. Everyone here is very scared the attackers will come back. The victims were rushed to Wishaw General Hospital, same as the last time. Police are hunting knife maniac behind the horror incident. Right? Now, a spokesperson for the police force says around 1:05, same again, Wednesday 31st of July. Not reported until the 11th. Now, if that isn't a bit bizarre, that it took 11 days for the initial story to hit any sort of media, we then get to the date of, where are we? The 13th of August, which is, 6 days ago, where we have follow-up stories, excuse me, by some, again, this is Daily Record, and some other local outlets carried this similar story. East Kilbride community unable to sleep after machete gang horror attack. So now it's a gang. The incident left one victim's hand severed and another needing surgery after neighbours awoke to screams and calls for help, raised the alarm, scaring the attackers off. Neighbours in East Kilbride say they have been left living in fear following a horror machete gang attack in a close-knit community. Emergency services were called, and it just reiterates the story that we read out from days previous. Woke up to screaming, blah, blah, blah. Looked out my window, saw someone bent over holding their hand, but I couldn't see who it is. This is another neighbour giving their eyewitness account in the same story. I thought it was just some drunk boys who'd been fighting until I saw my neighbour run out. That's when I realised it was serious. When I went out, I realised it was our neighbour that I had known since he was young. He was holding his arm soaked in blood. His hand was barely attached. Blood was everywhere. Right? Now this is shocking. Everyone that lives here has been here for 30 years. It's a quiet neighbourhood and most of the residents are older. It's the sort of community where we ask each other for sugar. It's very close-knit. Blah, blah, blah. I've got kids. They're worried. A spokesperson for Police Scotland confirmed on Sunday that the investigation into the incident is underway following the assault on the premises. Now, this is the bits that I find a bit mental. The incident has been treated as isolated and there's no risk to the wider public. That's an easy thing to say. Anyone with information or concerns can approach the officers in the area. Now, so this incident happened nearly 3 weeks ago. And this is the first I'm hearing of it. It was only reported a week ago. Now, I have looked. You would think a crime of this magnitude, where nobody appears to have been arrested, I cannot find any information online suggesting anybody's been arrested for this. Therefore, this, which now appears to be multiple attackers, it's now described as a gang, attacked two men in a quiet suburb of East Kilbride. And nobody knows. But what's even more worrying to me is, I've not seen and I have looked for it. You know, the police would maybe look for an appeal and try and look for witnesses, put out descriptions, maybe photo fits, that sort of stuff. Nothing. Absolute radio silence. And I find that pretty weird. The whole thing. Crime happened 31st, no reported till the 11th. Follow-up story, still nobody saying we're looking for two white attackers aged about in their mid-30s, right? Or a description of this gang. And I can't get my head around this. I'm not sure what's going on here. This is a big story for that area, right? That's pretty damn scary. That's happened in East Kilbride, right? East Kilbride is not like a housing estate with gang warfare and, you know, stuff like that you would expect. This is a very, very unusual crime for that area. And nobody's reporting on it until when it happened 34, like 11, 12 days later. Over a week and a half. And then, a few days after that, we get an update that the people in the area can't sleep. I'm no surprised. And then, when you consider nothing, the police, the only thing they've asked her is, it's an incident, and the incident has been treated as isolated, no risk to the wider public. Anyone with any information or concerns can approach officers in the area. No description, no photo fit, no big plea. This is the papers have gone to them, obviously, to try and, you know, piece together bits of information for the story. And I just can't comprehend this, what's going on. This is bonkers. But it just shows you how much carnage is on the streets in Britain just now, that something like this is 10 days old before it's even a story. And I must stress, the most concerning bit for me is the lack of, or appeared lack of, now I might have missed it, so I need to stress that, but the appeared lack of information requested by the police. Like, we're looking for one, or we're looking for three, or we're looking for two. Men, women, black, white, short dark hair, long curly hair, nothing put out to get any. Now, they obviously haven't arrested them because they're asking for people with any information to contact them. And I just don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. But, and I hope the two guys that were attacked are all right. There's not been any update in their condition. So right now, I can only think that, one of them may or may not have lost a hand because of it, and there's no absolutely zero description of what happened to the other person that was attacked or why they were attacked. Listen, they might I'm not saying it's a justified reason to get machete attacked, but they might be involved in something that was, maybe led to it, or they may have been innocent. I don't know, but nothing to have nothing is just completely bonkers on so many levels. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing and hitting the notifications bell. Please comment in the details below if you know anything other about this that I would hope you've shared with the police first. But if anybody knows anything more about this story, please put some comments below. But most importantly of all, unless you're these people that are running about all over the United Kingdom just now with machetes and big knives, see everybody else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.